Guam, and welcome to Group Chat. My name is Chris Barnett. Tuesday. Thanks for starting your day the KUAM way. Change it up a little bit. Wanted to bring our buddy Tomas Manglona, and he's wrapping up. This is the last week of your summer internship with KUAM.
Yes, yeah, last week. Good morning, everyone. It flew by, right, the past 2 months,
Yeah.
but it felt like it was packed with so much happening here in Guam. So.
There was, and I feel like it was pretty cool to get your perspective on the news team because you're originally from the island of Rota.
Right.
And we don't get a lot of Northern Marianas perspective in the news on Guam for whatever reason. I mean, so I thought that was pretty cool. And let's just talk real quick about what you wanted to accomplish before you even landed on Guam.
Yeah, well, I wanted to learn more about the island. I think I've shared with multiple people I've met. You know, I grew up in the NMI my entire life, primarily on Rota and then in Saipan for high school. And I never felt like I knew much about Guam growing up in Rota and Saipan. And you know, I've heard with my friends and other folks, that's kind of the same feeling about growing up in Guam, not really
Right.
knowing much about the NMI. And so
Yeah.
every time I'd visit Guam as a kid, I'd just always be here for 3 or 4 days at a time for, you know, whatever it is, a funeral, rosary.
Kmart.
Kmart, Ross.
Right. Yeah.
Wind chills. One time there was a wind chills phase too,
Wind chills,
so
right,
can't
yeah,
forget that. But yeah, so I really was just diving in and learning, and what better way to do it as a reporter here at KUM to
Right.
just learn so much about it.
And so, how was what you were doing in school? And you go to Cal, right?
Yeah. Yes.
How is that different from what you were doing here?
I think it's different because it's a student news organization, and so then you're not really working with professionals who've been doing it as long as you have, or Jason, or Sabrina, or Joan. Yeah, also just taking a moment to take it in because I grew up watching KUAM, and really I'm grateful to be mentored by folks here. Really, everyone down from around
Right.
the office. It's a great time. So. But it's different, especially because these issues, I feel like when you're on a campus, you leave campus every so often that you kind of feel distant from the issues. But here, this is home. This is
Right.
home, so you can't get away from the issues that you talk about.
And let's just run back with some of the stories that you've done. You've done some really great stories in the little time that you've been here. What are a few that you had a lot of fun doing?
I really, really enjoyed interviewing the Kaipat sisters from Pagan,
Right.
and I think that was day 2 or 3, and I was really excited to have secured that early
That was a
on.
cool story.
It was.
Yeah.
I mean, I was surprised that they were on the island and they were here for another TV show, but I thought they warranted more attention than they got. But
Yeah.
it was really interesting to talk to them because there's so many things happening up in Pagan. There might even be an airport there coming up soon for more folks to visit. But that story, and then of course the Rota fisherman story, which a lot of you actually chimed in on. And a lot of people have been asking for Frank's numbers, and so I think I need to call Frank Mendiola
Right.
and
Is
ask
it
him.
cool if I give your number out?
Right, and
Right.
if it's okay because he might be inundated with that stuff. But that, and also just honestly the everyday. Like today we're doing a story on back to school vaccinations.
Right.
It's the everyday, but it's what people want to know and want to know about so that they can live their lives. So.
Let's go back to that Pagan story, and some of the things you said at the beginning of the broadcast here is growing up on Guam, we don't know a lot about Saipan and Rota, and the same goes for you guys. And then why do you think there's this disconnect between, and it's obvious with this political status or whatever, between Guam and the NMI, and so much so that you get these Pagan sisters who come to Guam, and these guys are basically fighting the same struggle that a lot of activists here in Guam are doing in, trying to bring some light to the military buildup and different issues. But like you said, they didn't get a lot of attention when they came here, and I feel like that's kind of what's missing, whether it's in movements or whatever, but also in just our day-to-day lives. Like there seems to be like Guam, and then Northern Marianas.
Yeah, I think everyone has their opinion on that, and it's definitely
Well, what's your
something.
opinion?
What's my opinion? What do I think about it? Thanks for asking. Honestly, I think it's a shared struggle, right? And every person who's involved in whatever way, whether it's repopulating Pagan or
Right.
fighting for more rights here in Guam, I think it honestly is it's a case by case, group by group basis, and it's something that when they do come and you hear the similarities, right? Like, for
Right.
example, we even did that story last week on the solidarity between the Chamorro activists and the Kanakamali Native Hawaiian
Right.
protectors.
Another
Mauna
great
Kea.
story you did.
Right.
Yeah.
So, yes, and then yesterday they had the solidarity wave with them, and so honestly, it's just looking
Isn't
at
that kind of weird though that we're gonna show solidarity with Hawaii and then somehow totally overlook our neighbors to the north?
Well, it's like I welcome solidarity
Yeah.
as much as it can come,
Right.
but
Sure.
yeah, but in terms of your question, I think it's a larger thing that our community is gonna have to talk about because
I'm
it's
willing to
complicated.
talk about it.
Yeah.
I think it's really, and I know
Yeah.
a lot of it with the older people goes back to things that happened in the war, but I feel like with the MIT coming up and that programmatic
Right.
agreement and all the training that the military wants to do, I mean, united we stand, divided we fall, and I just thought it's kind of interesting, and you see those other areas where, we're not together.
Yeah, I heard there's also the decolonization or symposium or something of that sort's happening
In September.
in September.
Right.
And so I'm interested to see what that lineup looks like too. So
Yeah.
and it's not to push a certain agenda or anything like that. It's exactly what you're pointing out in terms of it's the same struggle when you're looking at it's a similar struggle when you're looking
Sure.
at Tinian and then Pagan.
And then decolonization. I mean, there are things we could learn from the NMI, and there's things that they're cautionary tales.
I mean, it's just amazing because the Pagan sisters are actually wanting to move back, right? This is actually reoccupying
Right.
native land, and so it's just it's huge, and really, and I want to follow that as long as they're doing it.
Let's go back because I heard some things about you. You're a friend of my daughter, and a lot of the people in that circle had talked about you doing activism, journalism, way back in high school. Tell us about that.
Yeah, wow. Okay, we're going all the way. I mean, it's not that
Hey,
far
we're going
back.
back to high school. That's not that far for
Yeah,
this
it's
guy.
not,
He's
it's
like,
not. I'm 21.
14.
What year did you graduate from?
Let's talk about your high school.
Right,
days.
yeah.
Yeah, I started off in Rhoda because there was, to this day, Rhoda has no newspaper or no television station, right? And that's what people, I believe, in academia, right? This is what Professor telling me. It's called a news desert, right? So we have food deserts, which is people don't have access to food, healthy food, reliable food. And for me, I'm looking at what does it mean to have news deserts here in the NMI, because how is there no reporter and no television station in Rhoda yet?
Right.
And you get, there's so many big stories happening in Rhoda that oftentimes get printed a week or 2 weeks or even sometimes a whole month later. And so that's really what got me started. And then after doing that work on my own, kind of just on a blog, newspapers picked me up, the Variety and the Tribune, and then after that in high school did some work for PNC, and then now I'm here. And so that's kind of
Wow.
like a distilled version, but it really what motivated me to enter and continue to do this, especially here, was because of what's not getting covered, especially at Rhoda.
So tell us, what isn't getting covered? Because, I can pitch it to management. Maybe it's time to send Chris out to Rhoda. You do a fact-finding mission.
I mean, there's so much, even down to the everyday, what people need to know. I mean, there's great work being done, with the public television station there. I don't want to say that nothing's being done in terms of information, because
Okay.
there is. But, there's this huge case with the mayor happening right now,
Right,
with his federal charges, and also, I think, some local allegations happening. And also, just in terms of, we talk a lot about preserving our wildlife, and, I believe the fire tree also, right, we don't really know if it's the exact same species,
Right,
but
right,
there's
yeah.
hundreds of them on Rhoda, and then, things even like the Marianas crow still exist on Rhoda. So, from politics down to the environment, I mean, there's just so much there that we don't really understand.
It's kind of like a snapshot. I mean,
It is.
Yeah, Rhoda is just right across the channel, and I also feel like you guys have made, headway into conservation efforts that, again, we could probably, take some notes from.
Yeah, and
Bird Sanctuary, have you guys been to Bird Sanctuary? It's freaking cool.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing.
yeah, and it's just I grew up there, so
Yeah.
it's
You grew up
something
in Bird
else.
Sanctuary.
I grew up in Bird Sanctuary. Actually,
He's
kind
like,
of-
oh God,
that's
Bird
good.
Sanctuary is so basic.
Yeah.
Hey, just want to shout out, we got fans from New York listening, and let's talk about your long
Oklahoma too.
Oklahoma.
Oklahoma, nice.
Kind of your long plan, right? So you come to Guam, you do your thing here, you're going off back to school. When you talk about this dearth of stories for the NMI, and also perspectives that you bring to Guam as well, is that part of your long plan is to come back?
Oh, it is. Yeah, I've always said my dream is to go back to and work in Rhoda, or work in the region, right? I don't know how things are going to be down the line. But going back to what happens in the Bay Area, I've also seen working for the campus television station that there's also a thirst for more Chamorro stories. I believe I did 2 Chamorro stories. The first of which was Probetsu, which is the Chamorro restaurant that just relocated to, I believe, Oakland because the rent was too much in San Francisco. And that story blew up. And then I remember some advisors from the campus television station coming in and being like, what's this
What
all
else
about?
you got, man? What else you
this?
got? You got any more of the Chamorro
And
angle?
it's funny because you look at the viewership and it's exactly folks from New York, from Oklahoma, from San Diego, everyone who's tuning in wanting to know what's going on out there. And so I'm even kind of thinking, is it time to kind of hit the road in the States and just do all these little human interest, stories on Chamorros just living in California or elsewhere.
And I mean, that's I think if you look across international, national media, like Indigenous voices are kind of trending now. You're seeing a lot of things that going on, and so I think that's kind of cool that that's something that you bring to the table.
Yeah.
Right. So, anything in closing you wanna say here? I know we're gonna go karaoke Friday, but man, it's been awesome working with Tomas.
Yeah, I just really want to thank everyone here. Like I said, I grew up watching KUAM. I remember my first day walking, I was so scared. I was like, but this really is the best newsroom ever.
We got that on tape, right?
Yeah, it really is, and it's because everyone here really cares about what they put out. So I just want to leave it at that and say that people should continue watching because it's important.
Well, there you go. Hey, Tomas Manglona, of course, from Rhoda, from the Marianas,
Yeah.
I guess we'll call it. And you're heading off next week?
Yep, next week.
Nice. Okay, well, thank you.
Yeah,
And thank you
thanks.
guys so much for watching. I just wanted to kind of touch base with Tomas here and throw a little shine his way. Be sure to check out all of our Facebook Live shows. And next week, Tuesday, we're going to be taking a tour of the University of Guam's farm up in Jigo. So bring your farm clothes for that. My name's Chris. I don't even know what farm clothes are. Bring your farm, Zori. On behalf of Tomas, has been a group chat. Estadios.